教会、あそこならば私からユノ様への最後の魔法です。どうか強く。
Huh? How'd the other boy get here? Oh no, I'm stealing this poor boy's magic. Lucita hurries away from the church very soon to meet her own poor fate. After having his mana stolen from the mother of his soon-to-be brother, Yuno would be doomed to live without magic in a world where magic is everything. While in one timeline blessed with luck and magic, this time the god of fate chose him to live without magic in this timeline. As the father of the church went outside, he found two magicless boys at the doorstep and decided to take them in, finalizing a destiny that had been long preordained by the magical threads of fate. As Asta and Yuno grew up over the years, they became best friends. They became brothers, building up a bond of brotherhood that far surpassed any blood ties. One day, as Yuno was sent away from the village by the father, he would have a terrible run-in with a drunkard who had wished to steal his magical item, the magic stone. "Give it back! That's mine!" "Boy, I'm gonna change this into cash. You know, magic is everything in this world. How about a magic duel to the death?" Yuno looked up, scared and sad, tears running long down his face. Of course, he knew that he would not be strong enough to take down a full-fledged adult. But he wasn't ready to part ways with the only connection that he had to his true family, the magic stone. "Sir, please, The sound of stomping feet stumbled behind him, a familiar white-haired boy surging past and lunging up towards the drunk man, attempting to fight him off and not giving up. The drunkard finally gave up and returned the item back to the boys. In the midst of nearly being broken, Asta pledges to become the Wizard King so that he can show that orphans and peasants can be important too. In response, Yuno says, "Me too. I will become the Wizard King." And so the two boys decided that the next morning they would spend the rest of their lives training and working towards becoming the status of the legendary Wizard King. The two boys have gathered at the edge of the forest near the skeleton of the slain ancient demon. After a few moments, the two awkwardly standing next to each other, Asta immediately dives forward towards the ground and starts repping out push-ups. After knocking out 100 reps in less than a minute, Asta is surprised when Yuno gets next to him and mirrors him, though at a much slower pace compared to Asta. "I can't manifest my magic yet. Is it the same for you?" Asta questioned his orphan brother, as to which the quiet Yuno only shamefully nodded his head. "Don't worry, Yuno. We will awaken our magic one day, but this is important work to be done, so that one day we can become the Wizard King." The two brothers continued training together that day, and the training continued every day for weeks, months, and that blossomed into years. That until 10 years later, on their 15th birthdays, when it was finally time for them to head to the Grimoire Tower of Hodge and receive their grimoires, their first major step of becoming the Wizard King. While Asta and Yuno raced each other on who could chop the most wood in a short period of time, their other orphan brother, Nash, mocked them. "You guys know that in this world magic is everything? You guys may be tough. Without magic, you're nothing. Why don't you stop worrying about becoming the Wizard King and actually work on giving yourself prospects for a job?" "Hey Nash, I don't want to be doubted by my own family. Stop. Yuno and I are going to the Grimoire Tower to receive our grimoires. Finally, our magic will be awakened." As Asta and Yuno were both hurt by the comments of Nash, they run off towards the forest for one last training session before heading off to the tower to receive their grimoires. Okay, now is probably a decent point to just cut in real quick. I'm doing a fan fiction / fan theory series for Black Clover Tuesdays now, and this is the part 1, What If Yuno Had No Magic? So I'm taking a fan theory, fan fiction, and turning it into a narrative rather than discussing a theory out of it. So that's why it's going to be a very different style of video. So if you guys do enjoy, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. This video is going to get pretty different from the main timeline because it doesn't change too much until we get further into the story of Yuno having no magic. I'd love to give a huge shout out to Polsky Art, the person who I commissioned for the art, the amazing art in the thumbnail and video of What If Yuno Had No Magic. I think it was done really well. So if you would like to see their art, link below in the description. and possibly you can also hire them for commission as well. But let's get back to the story. Can you believe it, Yuno? Getting our grimoires? Finally? This is something that we have been talking about for 10 years now. Finally, all of our hard work will be rewarded. Even if our magic is small, we will make use of it and work even harder. Heh. Yes, Asta. Yes, we will. And I will become the Wizard King. The two laughed as they entered the hall of the Grimoire Tower, a dark, shadowy figure following them from behind. Finally, after the speaker was done, he allowed for the ceremony to begin. The grimoires filled the air. Magical books of varying different sizes, colors, and designs soared through the air, landing in the hands of excited teenagers who are now taking the next big step in their lives. Asta and Yuno looked on as they witnessed every single person in the room now equipped with a bright, glowing grimoire. The brothers, looking up with arms spread wide in anticipation, were met with nothing. No grimoires for Asta and Yuno. Droat, the headmaster, would tell them good luck and to come back next year. As the two brothers attempted to console each other, the shadowy figure behind them mockingly laughed to himself. Hehehe, two boys not receiving a grimoire? Talk about an anomaly. But that tall, dark-haired boy, he had an interesting item around his neck. For some reason, it reminds me of the magic stone that Fogolion has. Why does a peasant out in the boonies have such a valuable piece? It won't be his much longer. Revchi snarled and followed Asta and Yuno as they walked out of the Grimoire Tower. I can't believe that neither of us got a grimoire. Do you really think that even if we come back next year, we're actually going to get one? Everyone in there looked shocked. I thought everyone gets a grimoire, no matter how small their mana is. What makes us so different, Yuno? I don't really know. Before his sentence could be finished, Yuno was stunned silent when strong, thick chains wrapped around his body. His immense physical strength had allowed him to resist the grip, but only partially. The overwhelming magic power of this mysterious figure was too much when paired with the element of surprise. Yuno, no! Who are you? Stop it! Asta lunged at the attacker, who returned with volleys of chain magic attacks. Asta, with his own physical prowess, dodged several of the chains and knocked several of them out of the way with his shoulders before being knocked back by the strong attacks of the rogue magic knight. Chains came from the ground and held him in his grovel. Wow, the two of you really are pathetic. No magic in the short one? Not the tall one either. Unless... Why are you doing this? Who are you? Asta screamed from his bindings. I am Revchi of Chain Magic, a former magic knight of the Clover Kingdom and current thief. The tall one here possesses a very valuable magic item. I will simply take it from your grasp. It will go for a heavy price on the black markets, or I will use it for my own powers. Vengeance upon the magic knights of the Clover Kingdom. A vengeance upon Gildre Poisat. Asta tried to get up from the chains, but was knocked back down by Revchi's boot. Weakened from the might of the chains, Asta could not resist. About to be in complete despair, Revchi only furthered the process by attacking him with insults on his measly power. Yuno felt helpless in the efforts, and looked gloomy as Revchi ripped the magic stone off of his neck with his chain magic and placing the item in his hand. Stop doing this to Asta. I don't care if we don't have magic. We're both strong, and we worked hard. We will become magic knights. We will work hard to become the Wizard King. For Asta is my rival. Yuno's words filled Asta with hope, and an awakening took place inside of him. A grimoire rocketed out of the wall towards him, and out of this mysterious dark book dropped a giant black sword, the Demon Slayer sword. As Asta gripped it, the chains around him withered. Thanks for that, Yuno. Now, it's time for me to save us once more, just like back in the good old days. Yuno thought back to 10 years ago, when Asta saved him from the drunkard. He always felt that he had owed Asta for that day, and this feeling awakened something deep inside of him as well. No, Asta, this time we win together. Yuno's muscles bulged even bigger and snapped away the distracted Revchi's chains. Revchi looked to both his sides with shock, as the two magicless boys had turned the tables so quickly. Yuno leapt towards Revchi and rocked him with an elbow to the side of the face As his head fell towards the ground, Yuno grabbed his hair and thrusted his knee into the nose of the rogue knight. Now walking backwards staggeredly, mirroring the motions of the drunkard a decade ago, Asta would swing his demon slayer sword on an opponent for the first time. Launching the rogue knight high up on the wall, the two brothers looked at each other with a smile. They always knew that they would have each other's backs, but this moment only further reinforced the notion, also gave them even more belief that one day they would become magic knights, and one day they could become the Wizard King and prove everybody wrong about peasants and commoners and people that were the non-elites of the society. Asta, I will ensure that I'm on your level. You may have gotten a grimoire, but it was us who defeated the former magic knight. In 6 months, I will take the magic knight's entrance exam alongside you, and we will both become magic knights. Finally, begin our true journey of becoming the Wizard King. The two nodded and raised their hands together. It was the start of a boy's vow, the beginning of a great journey. The two would train for 6 months. Asta worked on his physical strength and skills with the blade. Yuno, his physical strength as well, and his technical skills with fighting. The two were also massively helped by the presence of a former Diamond Kingdom commander known as Fonzel Kruger. In the 6 months' time, the two grew much stronger, both as potential knights of the Clover Kingdom, but also as brothers. They worked day in and day out, and didn't budge on their chores within the church. Finally, they ventured out and made it to the Magic Knight's entrance exam. This time, both Asta and Yuno being swarmed by the anti-birds, and still, Yami grabbing Asta by the skull. As the exams start, both Asta and Yuno are mocked by the other examinees, as they both fail every single test prior to the battle portion of the exam. And then finally, when they would come, Asta would fight against Seke Bronzaza, the bronze mage, who was a dick, and passed his first portion of the exam by defeating him easily and embarrassing the poor bronze mage, who may, or may not, have been secretly the Dark Lord this entire time. Finally, it was time for Yuno to show off what he had learned in the last 6 months. As he fought the lightning noble, Salim, he shocked everyone in the crowd. Despite no magic and no anti-magic grimoire, Yuno was effortlessly dodging every single lightning spell that was struck towards him, even punching one of the spells away like it was nothing. As Yuno sprinted towards Salim, the captains also wondered if he was using a movement spell like Asta. Yuno kicked out Salim's legs from beneath him, causing him to lose balance, and while Salim tried to use magic in an aim to retain it, Salim's lightning, while quick, was not quick enough for the magicless peasant, as Yuno landed his fist right upon the sorry noble's jaw, knocking him out instantly and winning the battle. Though Asta would be picked for the Black Bulls, it was finally time for Yuno's decision. As he walked towards the captains, none of them raised their hands, not even Yami of the Black Bulls, not even Jack of the Green Mantis. As Yami loved Asta's attitude, and at least Asta had some sort of grimoire, but Yuno was quiet and to himself, and he had nothing, only himself. As the Magic Knight captain stayed silent, Yuno nodded his head towards them and slowly backed away towards the crowd, immediately being met by a consoling Asta. "That isn't right. They would be stupid not to pick you. How could they do this? You know what? I'm not going to join the Knights. We'll find our own way, Yuno." "No!" Asta was shocked as Yuno actually yelled at him for the first time. "You will join the Black Bulls, and you will continue upon your path. I'm very happy for you, but I'm not giving up either. Just because you joined a squad first doesn't mean that I cannot surpass you. One day, every single captain up there will regret not raising their hand for me. Now, I will find my own path." The two hugged before Yuno began to leave the building. Finally, after being a few hundred meters away, he let the tears roll down his cheeks. All he wanted was to become the Wizard King and go along the journey with his brother that he had spent his entire life working towards the same goal. As he exited the city, he stopped and looked around, looking down at the magic stone around his neck. He smiled and continued to walk back home, planning how one day he will surpass Asta and become the Wizard King. As Asta would venture off with the Black Bulls and meet his new family, Yuno would return to his original family back in Hajj. Sister Lily embraced him with a hug as he approached the church. "I'm really sorry, Yuno, but don't give up on your dream. You have a lot more to grow." "Thanks, sister. I'm not giving up yet. I'm not letting Asta widen the gap between us even more. I'm going to start training again, right after dinner with everyone." As Yuno approached further, Nash came up to him and looked sad, only looking at the ground and struggling to make eye contact with his older, orphan brother. "You know, I was really hoping that both you guys did become Magic Knights. That would actually be pretty cool. Plus, the money would go towards the church. That's pretty raggedy here. We really need the money. Oh, Nash, don't fret. I'm not giving up. I will become a magic knight very soon. I will become on the level of those elite knights that chose against me, and then I will surpass them. But first, let's eat dinner. I got a lot to do tonight. Yuno ate with his family and enjoyed seeing them again, though he looked forward to his training in the night. As he left towards the demon skeleton once more, he felt alone. Every square inch of the area was filled with memories. Memories where Asta was always by his side. Now, he would need to fill the area with more memories. Memories of loneliness, using the memories of old to maintain his relevancy in the rivalry. Yuno begun his set of one-armed handstand push-ups. Then, he started moving the boulder around to gain more strength in his upper body, throwing it in the air, and then testing his punch as he shattered the boulder with his fists. As the boulder exploded, a stone blade plummeted from the epicenter to the ground. Whether Yuno had found an old sword fossilized in the stone, or if the gods of fate had created a sword from the stone, he did not know. But, now armed with a sword, he headed off deeper into the forest, aiming to use the magic beasts that dominated the region as training fodder for his upheaval of the magic knights. In just 2 hours, he had already slain 4 different magical beasts. The mana-infused proteins from within the meat of the beasts supplemented Yuno's strong muscles. With each beast slain, he grew slightly stronger. He knew that he would need to slay many more before retaking the exam, but shortly after the 4th beast, his magic stone around his neck had begun to glow. The bright blue mana emanating from it expanded to the trees around him and launched high into the sky. Yuno was confused with this occurrence as he surveyed the area. A weird sixth sense filled his body as he could sense the fear around him. The ground began to rumble, and the trees and plants ruffling in front of him. Moments later, 3 large beasts appeared from the shrubs. Each of these beasts were much larger than any he had ever seen, and each had much denser muscle fibers. Each beast also had a single dark, menacing eye that seemed to be filled of void. Also, their magical auras much larger and more threatening than the other magical beasts he had fought that day. Not only were these beasts seemingly much stronger than the ones that he had already slain, but there were 3 at once. Yuno had never taken on more than 1 magic beast at a time by himself, only occasionally taking on 2 at once with the aid of Asta. Now, he was in a scary predicament, as behind him, 3 more beasts appeared. Yuno was surrounded in every direction by these massive beasts. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, and he could not fly as he had no magic. Yuno simply looked down at his sword and smiled, before leaping into battle once more. As the morning came, Nash went outside to begin his daily chores. Yawning after a rough night's sleep, sharing that small bed that's very uncomfortable with his other orphan siblings, he spotted a weird figure on the ground. He slowly crept towards it, and from a distance, he could tell that it was familiar. And after a few more paces, he spotted it as Yuno. He rushed towards him to see if he was okay, and as he rolled him over, 6 black eyes rolled out from his arms and headed down the hill to the rest of the village. Yuno was filled of cuts, bruises, and blood, and of a stench that only reminded him of the animals on the farms, though a much stronger and far more pungy scent. Yuno, what did you do? Nash had finally gotten the attention of Sister Lily, who now headed over to Yuno to use her water magic to heal him. Yuno awoke and stated, "Finally, now I'm strong enough." What will happen to Yuno next? Find out next time on Black Clover Tuesday What Ifs, and part 2 of What If Yuno Had No Magic. Anyways, guys, that was part 1 of What If Yuno Had No Magic. Hope you guys really enjoyed this. Please like and subscribe and everything, because this video took a lot of work to do, so it'd be very much appreciative if you guys really did put in all the support, because it's definitely been needed, because this video took like twice as much work as any normal video, so please do that. Share it to your friends, share it on Twitter, share it on social media. If you know people that miss Black Clover Tuesdays, let's try and bring back Black Clover Tuesdays. And also, guys, if you have any other ideas for Black Clover Tuesdays, like what if ideas, let me know down below, because I'm probably going to break this into multiple parts. I already have part 2 of this scripted, just in case you guys do like it, and it covers the next 3 arcs in one video. So with that being said, hope you guys do enjoy this video. Let me know all of your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all have an amazing day. Plus...